Good evening, everyone. I hope you are doing very most well here in this earth. You know, tonight I am answering a request for a video about art laundering, and as I kind of settled into the points to be made, art laundering in Olympia to be exact, I started just thinking about art and what it meant to me, what my own background was in it. So I'm sorry if I got a little bit lost for a minute, and interested in everyone else and their beginnings with art. We moved to New Mexico when I was in the fourth grade, and we met Helen. Her mother was from Santa Clara Pueblo, and her mother was a very famous artist in her own right. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. That was a painting she gave me, and I can't believe it just came up on the internet. I sold it long ago for a small amount of money because I was really broke and had to get a plane ticket back to college. Wow, that's just incredible. So she was very 70s. I'll see if we can find more pictures of her. And it's sort of kind of hard to find her art. I'm just thrilled to be seeing it here. She never was into making prints. She really didn't believe in it. Everything was original. Here we're seeing just a lot of different sort of times of her work. Robert Redford would buy her work, though. There were people that knew who she was, and they would kind of seek her out. She really started this modern and traditional combined. And her mother was Pablita Velarde, and Pablita was like the grandma Moses of Pueblo artists. So maybe we'll do something more on them in the future and how we came to know Helen. Then there was, from a whole different era, Janusz in New York, and his kind of wild psychedelic DMT paintings. And he was from Poland and had gone over the wall before it came down, and he had come to New York. He had all sorts of wild stories about the Polish mafia sent him underground to paint masters, and he wasn't allowed to make his own paintings. And there was a woman who was chained up, who was incredible at doing Jackson Pollocks that were exactly like the ones he had done. So this was an interesting time too of Janusz and the kind of New York art scene. And then we have Olympia, and here's one person we'll get back to later. It's Pat Tassoni, and he does really cool lights. He'll find, I don't know if that's where he still gets his, he would find old hubcaps and make these amazing Space Needle lamps. And I got one for my little brother. There's Pat right there. I got one for my little brother, and it was not one of the Space Needle ones, but it was a radio tower in Berlin. And the only reason I bring that one up, well, it does have to do with art. I'm not saying that that Pat has anything to do with, his stuff is like affordable, like with any of that. But when I did buy it, the woman who, it had to be shipped and it was sort of big and bulky and strange. And she said, oh, yeah, this is going to really need to get packed well. I'll have Mr. Rothschild do it. And I thought, wow, like the Rothschilds, right? Like, like you hear about them like in all of our wild things. Not as like the person I'm, to be packing art in Olympia, which is like an amazing thing to do. It's an art unto itself. But I just was sort of, and then I went to look up. Oh, so there is a Rothschild, and their addresses. I don't want to dox anyone, but I just was looking it up. I guess it's online, and yes, we have Rothschilds here. I thought it was hilarious. Here it says Illuminati. What is that? The Prince of Pluralities or something. I guess we could just click on it just for fun. Before we get into our topic of money laundering, and I don't know if that's him or not, or if that is just like a just like a Facebook funny thing. And interestingly, here we go to we'll get back to that. Here we have some Olympia art that might be more in the realm of the money laundering. This was the first time I saw this person's art with the old-time religion. And it just seemed funny. Like, this was before I sort of like knew like all of this other stuff. It was maybe like mid-90s, late 90s. Now old-time religion, I just think of baal, right? And it's funny because I ended up making like an album called Half a Baal without even realizing what that was. Like, I was so tapped into the weird subconscious there of what was going on. So that person's name is Arrington, who does that particular art. And I had just thought, oh, it's funny, oh, it's cute, it's sort of like cartoony or whatever, and hadn't really looked closely at it. And that is where we kind of go into his art ended up at the bottom of Comet Pizza in DC. So there's our Olympia, what gate connection. I've done a couple of videos, sort of touching on that. And so his art could be, maybe bumped up and charging a lot. And if you do look closely at it, and here I brought up a picture I had taken down at Rainy Day Records. It was in the window. So yeah, he does a lot of, beheaded children, and here you've got like this kind of thing, like, I don't know, it's like the Pied Piper or something. I don't know, it's just very twisted. And let me see if I can get to some more. These were, yeah, there's the window at Rainy Days. So there it is. And so there's this kind of running theme of, beheaded children. And here's Rainy Day Records pics. I've got so many pictures of weird things in Olympia, and I've got to just sit down. I saw that I had tried to with a film editing program. I loaded some things up. So anyway, he became, I guess, sort of kind of a central art figure in that. And this kind of Hieronymus Bosch again. This is supposed to be like where the children hang out in the pizza place, and you just got like this sort of beheaded person. So again, I first saw it on a CD cover, so that kind of brings in the music scene. The music scene here in Olympia was K Records. This just came in, so they're still here. They're still relevant. I don't think they're like in this kind of big building they had downtown, but back, they knew Nirvana. I don't know if Nirvana had recorded with them or not. I do know Beck did, and you can, here's Beck's first album. And it's weird, like, if you read about Beck and Rolling Stone and stuff, they so diss poor K Records. They'll just say, like, Beck started out in Hollywood. Like, they never talk about it. But I love his One Foot in the Grave record. It's great, CD. And so there you have it. So there is this kind of weird connection. I had done the Have a Ball sort of like kind of like as a tongue in cheek, not even realizing, and went down there, and one of the people there kind of like kind of gave me like some inside scoop or something, because Kay was considered to be like this indie. It was really sort of the maybe the original like indie label or something, very famous for that. And that's why Beck was up here. He was after that kind of indie scene. So, there's Kurt Cobain K Records. So, we got this like indie scene, and they're famous for being indie, right? That's like their logo. It's just very, very indie, right? Like, we don't have any resources, right? We're just gonna like scratch this out. And he told me one day, he was like, answering phones and doing stuff. There's their old headquarters, also where the Enola Gay wings were made for bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I know, it just gets weird. And then it was turned into a bowling alley, and then K Records. And in that office, actually, in that front office, this person was answering the phone and kind of like, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Like, it was like very much just like a corporation. And I was kind of standing there with my little homemade tape, to give them. And he said, everyone thinks it's indie, but it's not. It's not. It's all big East Coast, whatever, money. It's not indie at all. and we'll leave it at that. I almost feel like I said too much now. Like, it's so weird because that was the whole thing, right? Buy local. This is an Oli thing. This is just Olympia. This is, no, okay? No, it's not. So it is a weird thing to kind of be talking about, because that's like the whole thing of it. And, tell me if I'm wrong or if he was messing with me or what. But, okay, here's something. That looks like that. No, come on, you guys. That looks like Chris Angel or something. Look at that little, and the pyramid in Vegas. Yes, I'm an illusionist. Come on. So anyway, as we plow through, is Olympia, what's going on with the art? Okay, now we go to Gore Vidal, because those were really the two. There were two people that I was really thinking of, LW, when you brought up, when you asked about the art, and one of them was Gore Vidal. He was super sophisticated in knowing about money and where it came from and where it goes, and just all of that. From way back, his family was Venetian black nobility, which were the bankers, and he said, like, power lies in every port. It's a port town. Then they have power over who comes, who goes, what comes in, what goes out. And Olympia is a port town, and we have all kinds of bizarro ships that come through here. I should do more on that, but I'm sort of like too creeped out. I'm sorry if my vids have been sort of lame lately. I've just been kind of self-censoring. So, okay, now speaking of art, I cannot find a really important video I was looking for about art towns and art colonies and what they are and what they cover up. So this is the best I could do. This was Joseph Biden's house in Arden, Delaware, and I'm just going to put on quickly a person from there.
One of the most important subjects in the world today, the subject of mind control.
Yes, sir, and I'm very grateful that you're here. It's great to talk to both of you again. Next up is Mark Pathieu. Mark is well versed in the study of Kabbalah, the Church of Satan, the occult, occultism.
Okay, sorry about that. I know that might just sound like way out there, and I wanted to kind of like hear Jay more. Sorry, I didn't realize that Mark was coming on as well. So, wow, what do I do now? Help, we've gotten this far in. Jay said it better, and his videos, a lot of them either got taken down or I can't find them. But he talks about how Arden was known as like an art colony, an art town from way back when. And he said that that was, that he grew up in like this multi-generational, like, SA family, and that art towns are able to hide the reality of what's going on. So if you see like an old art town, it's easy to sort of kind of hide as a Satanist, if you will, than if it's like just a regular town where people kind of see things that are going on more. So that was fascinating to me as well, that that we've got the money laundering that I need to look more into. And something else, and I don't know if it's like the opposite of money laundering, but here in Olympia, they always have these these public art things that get thrown in our faces that look super like weird and satanic. And I'm sorry I haven't done like more videos on those downtown. They'll kind of come up and then go down. But I found out, like I read, I should do another video on it, that the taxpayer pays a fortune for them. They'll be like, oh, look at this $30,000, lime green statue, which was one of Baphomet, and so, who's on this art council? Why are the taxpayers paying for that? It's just like a huge scam. And I have touched on it in some videos, just like, whoa, they paid $10,000 for like that giant rusty nail or something, because it's like so-and-so's buddy, right? So there's this just kind of just there can be grift either way. Okay, there can be grift with laundering it in many different ways. And also with the music, there's some kind of interesting connection with the music. And so here we've got this Arrington Dionisio, and I've seen some of his stuff that is just really appalling. It looks like they've sort of maybe cleaned up things. Maybe they kind of know that he's been whatever, if he's been in the LA Times with that article about Comet Pizza he must really know and be wanting to clean stuff up. Art tends to be kind of, I don't know. Is that art? I don't know. Like, I was a teacher, and it just kind of looks like the middle school boys drew. Um, anyway, here we here we go. Let me see if I can try to get to Jay.
The dark occultists, to my knowledge, have always been prevalent in society, the steerers and manipulators of society through religion and finance, and basically the rest of the human race are their cattle. Let me go into a little history of my personal family and also Illuminati history that I was taught when I was being groomed to be a member of the Illuminati when I was a child. Basically, my mother can trace her satanic heritage back 3,000 years, mother to daughter witchcraft, to the Amalekite people of the Middle East. The Amalek are spoken of in the Old Testament. King Saul was ordered by Jehovah to kill all the Amalek. But a story I was told when I was a child was that when the Jews and King Saul were slaughtering the Amalekite, basically what they did was they disobeyed God. They decided instead of killing all the people and all the cattle and sheep, they decided to herd the cattle and sheep and use them for sacrifice to Jehovah.